Imagine this. You walk into a supermarket ready to buy your groceries for the week, only to find that everything costs significantly more than it did just a few months ago. The Philippines' inflation rate hit a staggering 8.7% in April 2023, the highest in 5 years. This surge in inflation is not just a statistic, it's a story playing out in every corner of the country, impacting families, businesses, and the overall economy. The Philippines, a nation known for its vibrant culture and resilient people, is now grappling with an economic challenge that threatens to undermine its progress. For many Filipinos, especially those already struggling to make ends meet, the impact of these price hikes is devastating. Basic necessities like rice, vegetables, and transportation are becoming increasingly unaffordable, pushing families further into poverty. It's essential to understand what's driving these price increases and what measures can be taken to mitigate their impact on the lives of ordinary Filipinos. The issue of rising prices extends far beyond mere numbers on a spreadsheet. It cuts to the heart of everyday life for Filipinos from all walks of life. For the average Filipino family, the daily struggle to put food on the table, send children to school, and keep a roof overhead becomes an even greater challenge when the cost of living soars. Suddenly, tough choices have to be made between essential needs, forcing many to sacrifice their health, education, or overall quality of life. As consumer spending power weakens, businesses face declining sales and profits, potentially leading to job losses and slower economic growth. Understanding the relevance of rising prices to the lives of ordinary Filipinos is crucial for crafting effective solutions. The Philippine economy, once hailed as a rising star in Southeast Asia, is now facing significant headwinds due to the relentless surge in prices. The rising cost of imported goods, fueled by global supply chain disruptions, and a weaker Philippine peso, is placing a strain on businesses, forcing many to raise prices for consumers or absorb shrinking profit margins. This delicate balancing act threatens the viability of many small and medium-sized enterprises, which form the backbone of the Philippine economy. As families cut back on discretionary spending to cope with the rising cost of essentials, businesses across various sectors are feeling the pinch. Balancing these competing priorities will require a multifaceted approach that addresses both the immediate symptoms and the underlying causes of the country's economic woes. Perhaps the most concerning aspect of the Philippines' skyrocketing prices is the impact on the affordability of basic necessities. Food, once a source of comfort and sustenance, is now a source of anxiety for many Filipinos, as the cost of essential staples like rice, meat, and vegetables continues to climb. For low-income families who already allocate a significant portion of their meager earnings to food, these price hikes are pushing them to the brink. The rising cost of transportation, driven by surging fuel prices, further exacerbates the situation. The dream of upward mobility, once a beacon of hope for many Filipinos, is fading as the rising cost of living makes it increasingly difficult to escape the cycle of poverty. For many Filipinos, putting food on the table is becoming a daily struggle. The price of rice, a staple in the Filipino diet, has been steadily increasing, putting a strain on household budgets, especially for those already struggling to make ends meet. But it's not just rice. The cost of other essential food items like meat, fish, vegetables, and cooking oil has also been on an upward trajectory. Families are forced to make difficult choices, often reducing the quantity or quality of the food they consume. This can lead to nutritional deficiencies, particularly among children, and exacerbate health problems, putting additional strain on the already burdened healthcare system. Finding affordable housing in the Philippines, particularly in urban areas, has always been a challenge, but the rising cost of living has exacerbated this issue. Rent prices are skyrocketing, fueled by increasing demand and a shortage of affordable housing options. Adding to the housing headache is the rising cost of utilities. Electricity and water bills are becoming increasingly burdensome for many households as energy prices surge globally and the Philippines grapples with its own energy security challenges. Addressing the housing crisis requires a multi-pronged approach, including increasing the supply of affordable housing, implementing rent control measures, and providing financial assistance to low-income families struggling to keep a roof over their heads. The rising cost of living in the Philippines is not just an economic issue, it's a human rights issue. When basic necessities like food, housing, and transportation become increasingly unaffordable, it directly impacts people's access to other essential services like healthcare and education. For many Filipinos, affording quality healthcare is becoming increasingly difficult. The cost of medical consultations, medicines, and hospitalization is rising, making it a significant financial burden for families already grappling with other expenses. The Philippine government must prioritize investing in affordable healthcare and quality education to ensure that all Filipinos have the opportunity to lead healthy and productive lives. Like a tangled web, global supply chains have faced unprecedented disruptions in recent years, and the Philippines has felt the impact keenly. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed the fragility of these intricate networks, causing bottlenecks and delays that sent shockwaves through economies worldwide. The Philippines, heavily reliant on imports for many essential goods, found itself particularly vulnerable. The cost of importing raw materials, intermediate goods, and finished products surged as shipping costs skyrocketed, and delays became the norm. For the Philippines, this means that the threat of supply chain disruptions and their inflationary consequences remains a pressing concern. The Philippines, like other countries integrated into the global economy, is not immune to the forces shaping international markets. One significant factor impacting prices in the Philippines is the rising cost of fuel. The global energy market has been volatile in recent years, driven by factors like geopolitical tensions, supply chain disruptions, and increasing demand as economies recover from the pandemic. As a major importer of oil, the Philippines has faced surging fuel prices, which have a cascading effect on the cost of transportation, electricity, and the production and distribution of goods and services. This is particularly concerning for the Philippines, where a significant portion of household budgets is allocated to food. While global factors play a significant role in shaping prices, domestic policies also have a considerable impact. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, the country's central bank, has responded to rising inflation by raising interest rates, which can help curb inflation by slowing down economic activity and reducing demand. However, this balancing act can also have downsides, potentially impacting economic growth and making it more expensive for businesses to borrow and invest. The government's fiscal policies, such as its spending priorities and taxation policies, can also influence inflation. Addressing the root causes of inflation requires a multifaceted approach that considers both global and domestic factors. The Philippine peso has been on a downward trajectory against the US dollar in recent years, adding another layer of complexity to the country's economic challenges. A weaker peso makes imported goods more expensive, further fueling inflation and putting a strain on businesses and consumers alike. Several factors contribute to the peso's weakness, including the widening trade deficit as the Philippines imports more goods than it exports, and the strengthening of the US dollar. The depreciating peso has far-reaching consequences for the Philippine economy. Addressing the peso's weakness and stabilizing the currency is crucial for mitigating inflationary pressures and fostering a more favorable environment for economic growth. Perhaps the most poignant and relatable manifestation of the Philippines' skyrocketing prices is the shrinking size of the average Filipino's meal. As food prices have soared, families have been forced to make difficult choices, often sacrificing quantity for affordability. The once generous portions of rice, the staple food of the Philippines, have shrunk noticeably. Meat, once a regular part of many meals, has become a luxury for some, replaced by cheaper protein sources or simply absent from the table more often. This shrinking plate is not just a matter of aesthetics, it represents a very real decline in the nutritional intake of many Filipinos. While economic indicators and statistics paint a stark picture of the Philippines' inflation crisis, they often fail to capture the full human cost of this crisis. Behind the numbers are real people grappling with impossible choices, their dreams deferred, and their anxieties amplified by the constant struggle to make ends meet. For many Filipinos, the rising cost of living has meant cutting back on essential needs, sacrificing their health, education, and overall quality of life. Parents are skipping meals to feed their children, students are dropping out of school to help their families financially, and the sick are delaying medical treatment due to the prohibitive cost. The psychological toll of this constant economic pressure is significant. The stress of making ends meet, the fear of losing one's job or home, and the uncertainty about the future can take a heavy toll on mental health, leading to increased anxiety, depression, and even relationship breakdowns. The Philippines' inflation crisis is not just an economic problem, it's a human crisis that demands a compassionate and comprehensive response. Addressing the root causes of inflation, mitigating its impact on the most vulnerable, and restoring a sense of hope and opportunity for all Filipinos must be top priorities. The Philippines faces a formidable challenge as skyrocketing prices erode the purchasing power of its citizens and cast a shadow over its economic prospects. The factors driving this inflationary surge are complex and interconnected, ranging from global supply chain disruptions and volatile energy markets to domestic policy decisions and a weakening currency. The impact on ordinary Filipinos is undeniable, as basic necessities become increasingly unaffordable, forcing families to make difficult choices that compromise their health, education, and overall well-being. Despite the daunting nature of these challenges, there is always hope. Knowledge is power, and understanding the forces at play is the first step towards navigating this storm. Filipinos can take control of their financial well-being by adopting savvy budgeting strategies, exploring alternative income sources, and prioritizing essential needs. This might involve seeking out local markets with lower prices, exploring carpooling or public transportation options, and carefully considering the necessity of each purchase. The Filipino spirit of resilience and bayanihan, the spirit of communal unity and cooperation, will be crucial in overcoming these challenges. By supporting local businesses, advocating for sound economic policies, and looking out for one another, Filipinos can weather this inflationary storm and emerge stronger on the other side. The road ahead may be challenging, but with determination, resourcefulness, and a commitment to shared progress, the Philippines can navigate towards a more stable and prosperous future for all its citizens. Remember, every peso saved, every act of community support, every voice raised for economic justice brings us closer to brighter days ahead.